welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 164. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I have just one bean on the line again in the form of Cracker. How's it going, mate?
Good, mate. Back again.
Back again. You're the like consistent, stable person on the podcast these days.
I have been for a while, yeah. I was thinking this week, I was like, oh, maybe I'll take a week off. Like, I've done a run. And then Chewy's like, oh, I'm in the city for work. And it's like, all right, I guess we're in. I don't mind. Always happy to talk about magic and chat with you, mate.
Oh, that's good. Which one's more enjoyable, talking about magic or chatting with me?
Chatting with you.
Okay, cool. That is the correct answer. Well done, Cracker. I'm not going to mute the rest of your audio.
Okay. That would be the funniest podcast ever.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since we've had more than two of us on an episode, I think. I can't remember when the last one was, but anyway, we went from like having too many people on the podcast, and yeah, now we're down to just two most of the time. But anyway, it's still good fun, and like you said, it is always good to be talking about magic, and I do enjoy chatting with you as well, Cracker. So it is mutual. Yep. All right. Well, we're a bit almost light on, I think, this week. Like, there's not a ton going on in the world of magic at the moment, but there's a couple of things coming up which we'll be talking about. But before we get into that, we do have a sponsor shout out. I'm going to do the sponsor shout out this week, Craig, because I basically never do it. Actually, I do it on the stream, which is a weekly thing, but I never do it on the podcast. So I'm going to do it this week, seeing as I received a very lovely box of goodies from Pat recently that I will be giving away over the next few weeks. But Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They are the sponsors of the Magic Beans podcast. For what, this is the third year that Pat's been sponsoring us? It's been a long time. It's been a very good relationship, but it's good. I mean, certainly can't complain about it, because they are a very good system set up. Like, everything about what Pat does is just top notch. You know, from the listings going up every single night with auctions, or the win it now lots every single night without fail. Even when he's on holidays, or it's Christmas and all sorts of stuff, he's always putting things out there. To the giveaways that he does for the community, to sponsoring us. It's just all good. So if you haven't already checked them out, go to jpmtgbazaar.com.au, take you straight to the Facebook group, and then you can click join and then start bidding on stuff, particularly things that you see either a Matthew Bowman or a Chris Paulson bidding on. Definitely bid on those things. Just bump those bids right up.
Yeah, just buy $1, right? They'll know what you're doing. It's great.
Yep. But yeah, definitely good. Go and check them out. And when you do win something, let them know the bean sent you, so that Pat continues sponsoring us and we can keep giving things back to you guys. That's the way the world works. So
it is.
Thanks, Pat. All right.
Thank you, Pat.
I think I kind of messed that sponsorship read up a little bit.
Nah, it was fine.
It's all good. Yeah. I mean, we don't actually have an ad read, a script or anything like that.
No, it's just off the top.
Just like the rest of the podcast.
Whoa, what are you talking about? You're saying this isn't a finely practiced, well-oiled machine?
There's definitely a few podcasts that I listen to where it's like, yeah, you're really scripted in what you do, and it comes across in being scripted. One person says this, one person says that, whatever. And then there's other podcasts where it's like, I'm pretty sure you've scripted this, but you do such a good job of not making it sound like it's scripted. And then there's us who just...
Then there's us.
Literally make it up as we go.
Correct. Look, at least this week we didn't actually hit the join Discord button and say, what are we talking about? We actually knew in advance by at least an hour.
Yes. It was like 4:30 this afternoon when it was like, what are we talking about tonight? Yeah. Anyway, too much behind the scenes information here. Podcast, man. Wow.
We're talking about the Pro Tour. That's what we're talking about, Shorty.
We are, yes. So we do have Magic Con Minneapolis coming up in a week and a half's time. So these are the big Magic events that they do these days. They do sort of a few per year, but I think they're all in the States.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's one in Europe later in the year, but I think that the first two or three are going to be in the States. But yeah, they're like the super PTs with MagicCon attached to them. So there's Commander events and a whole bunch of side events. cosplays, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it'd be something that would be really cool to go to. Like, just go and experience the full weekend of, not just playing Magic, but being involved in all the stuff. You weren't there, Cracker, but years ago, they had a GP in Melbourne that Chewy and I went to. It was when it was Eldrazi Winter, when I played Doran against the Eldrazi Tide, and I made day 2 of the GP playing Doran, thanks to Chewy's, what's that? Is it a GP top 8, whatever the fancy Doran is that he's got? It's very cool, the full art one. But they had, I think that was Shadows over Innistrad, and they had like a escape room set up. And they had, people walking around in cosplay, and there was this cool escape room, and like, it was actually really well done. And that was actually the first escape room I'd ever done. So that was cool. But yeah, like, they used to be big events like that. And that's sort of what I picture when you, like, something like a MagicCon, there'd just be stuff everywhere, like going to a convention, like we got DreamHack, I think, is on this weekend in Melbourne. Actually.
It is. Yep.
Yeah, that sort of thing where you've got panels, and, you can go and see the famous Magic players and go and see, Mark Rosewater walking around.
But yeah, there's like artist galleries, and they have like people doing signings and like all that sort of stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll probably never get to go to one because they're not going to do one in Australia. There's not enough people here, but it would be cool to go to. But coinciding with it is the Pro Tours. They are running those alongside each of these MagicCons, and we've got Pro Tour March of the Machines. So what's happening on this one?
There's a lot of money is what's happening on this one. So they're still seeding the PTs in this new system. So they're actually smaller than they have been in the past. We're not up to the 400 players. That we'll get to that as they kind of have more people who are getting re-invited. But this one, they're expecting about 250 players, I think. But the prize pool is $500,000, $500,000.
That's not bad. You get 250 players, $500,000 prize pool. I think these are like the Pro Tours are like the $1,500 for just showing up, sort of thing. Turning up, yeah. Yeah, it's not bad.
Seems good to me. But yeah, it's going to be draft and standard in paper because paper Magic is the best.
It certainly is. And we got coverage all weekend. I think you and I were actually on the podcast after the most recent one, and we were talking about how good the coverage was. They sort of stepped it up a notch, and
they killed it.
Yeah, really did a good job. They were doing the pre-recording the matches or recording the matches and streaming them sort of on delay, so they could jump between matches, no worries, but also jump from game 1 to game 2. You didn't have all the downtime of sideboarding and shuffling and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I'm assuming it will be exactly the same this time, and that was great. Like, I watched heaps of that coverage, and I'll definitely be looking forward to this again. Although the last one was Pioneer, which was much more enjoyable. This one is, as you said, Standard, which is the same.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yep. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I used to hate was like going, I've got a bit of time, I'll sit down and watch some PT, and then it's like, we'll be back in 25 minutes. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's how much time I have to watch the PT. Like, I don't have 7 hours to sit here and watch. But yeah, now it's all condensed. It just makes it a much more enjoyable viewing experience. So yeah, looking forward to that. I think
the last one, the longest I saw was like a 2-minute, like we'll be back in 2 minutes. And then it came back to, and even if it was just going back to the news desk with Maria and a couple of other people, Cedric and someone else, it was like they were talking about the match or they were talking about a deck list or whatever. There was just always something on, and they would just use those really short breaks to transition between things.
Yeah,
and that was it, because
coverage teams and stuff like that.
Those 20-minute downtimes, goodness me. Yeah, that's way to lose all your viewers, and sucks the most when that's the only time you've got to watch.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. So yeah, we will get deck lists for this event, but they don't release them until they've actually started playing. So I believe the event itself is open deck list, like you share your deck list with your opponent, and then they will publish the full deck lists after round 4 starts. So there's 3 rounds of draft on day 1, and then round 4 is the first round of standard. So as soon as that round starts, so we now know all the players are sitting down, they're playing their matches, they've already seen their opponent's deck lists, then they release the actual deck list. So it does mean, you don't have them in advance, we don't get to talk about them in advance, but it stops people from being able to know in advance what people are playing and start testing against them and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of a good way to do it.
Yeah, it is, but it also frees up the fact that like people who are not on large teams or have that advantage of, scouting used to be a massive thing back in the day where you'd go and work out what one of the teams was on and, be ready for that kind of thing. So yeah, that's the open deck lists and having everything publicly available is just good. Like, yep. I know that some people don't like it in terms of what it does to the metagame and the way people play, but it feels like it's the most fair. It's just the most even. It doesn't advantage anyone or disadvantage anyone for being like their first PT and not knowing what's going on, right?
Yeah, it puts everyone on a even playing field rather than having the pro teams that have their friends getting around scouting and, seeing what people are on, or the max punished scenarios that used to happen when teams would have their deck done as a deck tech in like round 4 or something, and the deck tech would give away all the secrets of the deck. And there was the blue-green Khan list in Standard a few years ago. That was one of those ones.
I think those guys just like to go, it was the fact that our deck was released. Nah, guys, your deck was hot garbage. That's what that was.
Yeah, anyway. I never quite understood how they ended up on that deck because that was like LSV and
it was Team Channel Fireball.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure that I think that's a result of the like inbred house testing where you get stuck in this feedback loop and it's like, oh no, this is what people are going to be playing and this is the deck that beats all those decks, and then you bring it to the day and it's like no one's playing the decks that we thought were going to get played, and now our deck
4
sucks.
levels too far.
Yep. That's all right. So we should get a metagame breakdown. Normally Frank Carsten does a full metagame breakdown a couple of days before because they do have the decks submitted, I think like 4 or 5 days prior to the event. So they'll do a metagame breakdown. They'll release that. So we'll get to see what the percentages are. We'll see if there's any spicy decks in the meta, but we won't actually get to see the deck list until the day. But yeah, should be a lot of fun. That's on in a week and a half. The weekend of the 5th or 6th of May is the weekend for that, and it starts on a Friday in the States. So it's Saturday coverage for us. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, top 8, which is cool.
Yeah, the usual thing.
All right, so we thought we would have a look at all new, brand new, exciting Standard.
There are so many new things.
So many new archetypes.
Yep. So there's this card, Shorty. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yes, I seem to remember purchasing 4 of them from Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar.
Oh, good choice. Yeah, I mean, we've got the challenge results, which is their big events. They run on MTGO. From kind of the last week. And, I mean, it's not exactly the most diverse, should we say?
It's a whole lot of mid-range.
It is. And it is not unexpected. It's not to everyone's taste. Obviously, like, a bunch of mid-range super is definitely not my favourite. There are some decks in here that are kind of cool and doing some interesting things. So, I don't know, maybe we'll just run through the top 8. And then we can sort of dig into some of the other things that are going on. So there's Jeskai Control, Rakdos Reanimator, Rakdos Midrange, Jeskai Control, Grixis Midrange, Rakdos Midrange, Mono Blue Tempo. Let's go. And then we've got Grixis Midrange, and then, Rakdos Esper, Mono Red in 11th, 4-color Midrange in 12th. So, yeah, there's a real theme here. It is red, black... red decks.
Red-based mid-range.
Red-based mid-range. I mean, yeah, the control deck is 19 spells, 3 Wandering Emperors, and some interesting cards, like the Chrome Host Seed Shark.
Oh, we spoke about that one on the preview cast.
Yeah. It's actually, it's seeing a little bit of play, which is kind of cool. It's a 3-mana 2/4, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you incubate X, where it's the X spells mana value. And they're playing a Zergo and Ojutai, which is cool.
Yeah, get some spicy new cards.
So no, look, I mean, we joke about the fact that there's nothing new. There actually is. There's a bunch of like new cards, but there's not a lot that's it didn't flip the format on its head.
No, which is kind of what you would expect. Like we've had a mid-range based format for 3 sets now? Like,
Yes.
It's been quite a while that it's been this way. So unless you're really getting some super powered cards in different archetypes, in the aggro archetype or the control archetype, or there's a crazy combo that comes out or something like that, like it's just going to tend towards mid-range. It's also, we're talking very early days in the format, so, we could see a bit of a more diverse meta at the Pro Tour, but I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's also we're at the last set in Standard, so we will have rotation with the next set that releases, which we figured out just before the podcast. The next Standard set doesn't release until September. So that's a long time.
Is insane because we are still in April.
Yes, we're in April.
I know you've told me that like 4 times. I'm still not quite wrapping my head around it.
We have the Aftermath releasing in 2 weeks, the 12th of May.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's it. We get nothing new in Standard until September, which is when we will see rotation. So, we'll talk about that then. But we will be losing, Fable and Bankbuster and all those sorts of cards from Kamigawa. So we're going to see like the whole top end of the power level of Standard just be gone out of the picture, and as well as having a new Eldraine set.
I was going to say, Eldraine is the set that's coming in though, Shorty.
Yeah, so who knows what that's going to mean? Like we may have Oko 2.0. But
yeah, he costs 2 mana this time.
Exact same
and
abilities.
It's a +3.
Oh dear, I would not be surprised. But yeah, so it's not surprising to see Standard look the way it is at the moment.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Yeah, I guess just strap in for that for the next 5 months, nearly 6 months. Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I've actually been watching, I was saying to you, I've been watching a bit of like Magic the last week or so. I've been watching Croaky stream and some other stuff. And there's some interesting things that you can do. Like, I mean, it's kind of the core decks are still like the same. You kind of have like just that Rakdos kind of base for so many things. Like, there are just too many efficient cards in like Blood Tithe Harvester and, Fable and Cut Down and Shieldred and, like Bankbuster and all those kinds of things. Like, there's just this kind of core set of like 20 cards that are like some of the best things to be doing. And then it's like, well, what do I want to splash with that? Do I want to? Do you want to just kind of stick to red-black? Do you want to go Grixis? Do you want to go like Mardu? Or then you go the other way and you look at like the mono-white kind of builds where they're doing the mid-range thing. There seems to be less of that. Actually, there was a mono-white like Atali deck that Chewy played against the other night on stream. So
mono-white Atali? Well,
it wasn't quite mono-white. It was Boros, I guess, but it was like base mono-white. And then, yeah, it had like Atalis at the top end because I guess they just wanted to dino some people out.
Yeah, well, there's actually a list of that here.
Yeah.
It's in, what's that, 20th place? Lavunga. That's a dude who won, he won one of the Mythic Invitationals, I think. Can't remember what his name is. Yep. But yeah, it's just a bunch of, it's just mono-white mid-range, but then just has 3 Atalis.
Yeah, it's fine. You've got Ambitious Farmhand to go find your lands.
Yeah. And Fable, he makes treasures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's... Look, the games are complicated. Like, even though it's a pattern that we've seen a lot, like, the games are actually... Because I'm not playing them, they don't seem like the worst thing ever. Like, there's actually a lot of lines, and thinking through kind of what can happen is not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, which is what you get in mid-range. Like, that's... Correct. Like, often, you talk, like, Brad Nelson type people, like Reed Duke, Mike Sigris, like those sorts of people, they love the mid-range decks because it's just an endless stream of decisions and decision trees. And, if I go down this line and this line and this line and this line, like, where does that lead me? And there's just so much thinking to do. And that's where those really good players can outthink their opponent. Like, none of the cards are crazy powerful on their own. None of them are a 2-card combo that just wins you the game. they're just all really good, solid, strong cards, and then the decisions that you make in how you utilize those cards is what gets you the win. And that's where someone like me with my mono red brain that just wants to turn dudes sideways as quickly as I can just doesn't enjoy it. It's just not fun.
Yep.
Because my brain hurts too much and I can't make all those decisions.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want to counter 4 things and win the game with a single threat, but just too much value in bolted onto all these creatures to be able to do that. You say there's no like 2-card combos. There's some pretty nutty things that you can do with 2 cards in standard at the moment. So have you seen Chandra's Hope's Beacon in play?
Chandra's Hope's Beacon? I don't even know what that is.
So she is the new Chandra. She is 6 mana, so 4 red for a Chandra with 5 starting loyalty, with a static ability of whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, worth noting, it triggers on your opponent's turns as well.
Yep.
And then it goes +2, add 2 mana of any combination of colours. +1, exile the top 5 cards of your library. Until the next turn, you may cast any instant or sorcery from among those exiled cards. Or -X, it deals X damage to 2 targets. So, yeah, I have seen multiple times people go, I'm going to tap out 6 mana, cast Croaky's, cast Chandra, right? And then he pluses and then, plays Cut Down and kills 2 things, and then untaps and then casts Invoke Despair. Or Breach the Multiverse, which is a 7 mana sorcery. I don't know if you know what that one does.
Nope.
Yeah, it's 5 black. Each player mills 10 cards. For each player, choose a creature or planeswalker card in that player's graveyard. Then put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. Then each creature you control becomes a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. That last bit doesn't matter, but it's like mill 20, pick the 2 best cards out of those 20.
Right.
Put them into play. And if you've got a Chandra in play, you get to do it twice.
I mean, Chandra curves perfectly into a cleaved Alchemist's Gambit, so...
Sure.
We can just take all the extra turns.
Just take all the turns. Why not? Seriously. Gee, I don't know. I think you've taken more extra turns than most people I know. And the other card that I've seen people messing around with is Hidetsugu? And Hidetsugu, that's the one.
Yep.
And Chiari, which is 2... So it's 2 generic, 2 blue, and a black. So it's 5 mana total for a 5/4 flying legendary ogre demon dragon. Because of course it is. So when it enters the battlefield, you brainstorm, right?
Yep.
So draw 3, put 2 back, and then when it dies, you exile the top card, and then target opponent loses life equal to its mana value. And if it's an instant or sorcery, you may cast it without playing its mana cost. So I've seen people who are doing things like
yargling.
No, he's like breaching. So you brainstorm, put breach on top, even kill your Hidetsugu, dome them for 8, and then it's a really interesting card. It makes some really interesting play patterns because it's attacking for 5 in the air. So it's not even like you just have to kill it. And it makes things awkward for people to attack into because you don't know what you've put back on top. So, yeah. There is a card that deals 10. I can't remember what it is. There's a red... the red sorcery that deals 10 damage, and then it costs 10 mana as well.
10, yeah.
So you can do that kind of thing. Was the kind of memey version of this initially. But, just as a straight-up value play, it's just a 5 mana 5/4 flyer. It just clocks.
Yeah, that brainstorms. Yep.
That brainstorms, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, seems good. Yep.
Seems really good. So there's some of that going on. And then Esper Legends, which we've seen a bunch. We watched Tom play that a lot in our leagues. It's the same sort of thing, but you've got Skrelv now, which obviously helps a humongous amount for giving things protection. So there's stuff kicking around that's it's interesting to watch. So I'm actually keen for the PT in that respect. I think that there will be some really good matches and kind of working out which way people have built their decks and their sideboards. See how that kind of plays out. It'll be fun. Plus, tie level paper magic.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, a card that Esper Legends picked up that I played a bit of in the early access event was Rona, Herald of Invasion, which is the new JVP.
It pops off, man.
It does, yeah. So it's 1 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary human wizard. When you cast a legendary spell, untap it, and then it's got tap, draw a card, then discard. So it loots, and when your deck is full of basically all legends, you are getting so much value out of this thing. And then it's got 5 and a Phyrexian black mana. You can transform it at sorcery speed, and then it becomes a 5/5 with trample. And it's got whenever a source deals damage to Rona, that source's controller exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land, you can play it, or you can put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So I never got to flip it and see the other side of it, but just it's obviously not Jace Rune's Prodigy, but part of the reason why Jace Rune's Prodigy was so powerful was just that being able to loot every turn.
Yeah.
And just sculpt your hand. And when you can, and for Jace, it was once per turn. This, like in the like I was playing a Sultai list, you can loot like three to 4 times a turn sort of thing, like without too much difficulty. It's, quite good. And then going back into older formats, you've got things like Mox Amber, which is a 0 mana legendary artifact that untaps this thing. So, yeah, you can definitely get some cool combos going with that card. It's
I wonder if there's like a Kethis deck or something like that where you can, because that was like you can play legendary spells out of your graveyard if you exile other legendary spells and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think Kethis is Kethis is banned in Pioneer.
Oh,
probably not. Yeah, I just looked.
Is he banned in Alchemy?
It's not legal in Alchemy.
Not Alchemy.
Explorer.
Explorer, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, Explorer follows the Pioneer
ban list. Okay. So it'll be legal in Historic, but
it's in Historic. It's in Modern. It wouldn't be strong enough in Modern. Maybe you might be able to find a combo for it in Modern, but yeah, pretty cool.
Yep.
So another card that I had a bit of fun playing. That's as you mentioned earlier, that's seeing some play in a few of these decks is Atali. What's the full name of it? Atali Primal Conqueror.
Oh yeah,
which I think we spoke about on the podcast, just to bring it up for Matty P's sake, because on the other side it is a Blightsteel Colossus.
Yep.
But man, this thing does some serious work.
Oh yeah, it slaps.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to cast. Like particularly in the Rakdos Reanimator lists where you are playing Fables and things like that, where you're making treasures. Getting to 7 mana is not that hard. So it's 5 red for 7/7 trample, and when it enters the battlefield, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. And you may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So I was reanimating this and then, just casting, like paying 5 mana to reanimate it and then casting a spell off the top of their library and a spell off the top of my library. And sometimes I would hit another Atali or an Atraxa or something like that off the top of my library and just cast that. And I had one turn where it's like I paid 5 mana and I put in the Kunaros and Ecroxa. I think that's the one. And that reanimates something when that comes in. And
wow.
So that came in, gave something haste. I got an Atali, cast an Atraxa or something. It was like 5 mana and I just put like 25 mana worth of stuff on the field, and
living the dream.
It was pretty gross. But cool card. So gives us another reanimation target. And I've heard a few people saying that they're actually finding Atali a better reanimation target than Atraxa. Like Atraxa's good, but it doesn't close out the game as quick.
Sorry, what?
It doesn't close out the game as quick as Atali. Like Atali can often represent more value because, like, Atraxa's putting the cards in your hand. You've then got to cast them. Untap, have your Atraxa live and cast them. Whereas Atali can just put so much value onto the battlefield that it can often be overwhelming.
Sure.
I don't know.
Just you reanimate any of your 7 mana creatures, you usually win the game, is my experience with that sort of thing. They tend to generate massive amounts of value. Yeah. It's kind of wild that like red is actually the best ramp color these days.
Yes.
With Fable and I've forgotten what it's called. It's the 4 mana
the big score.
Big score, yes.
Yeah.
Just like my goodness.
Yeah.
What happened to green? Green actually feels like the color you don't get to play.
Yeah, I mean,
moment.
like looking at these challenge results, there is a 4-color mid-range list,
Mhm.
and then there is a Abzan Legends list, and they are the only green
There's a red,
decks
green, and 22nd.
represented. Oh, I'm going to scroll down further.
Yeah.
Yes, red, green in 22nd. Yeah, what happened to green? Green was so powerful. Like, remember, like Simic was just...
Oh, yeah.
It was nuts. But, yeah. This red-green list is actually a spicy new one, full of invasions. I actually played a list similar to this on the early access event as well. So, yeah, you are ramping, but you're using the red-green invasion, the invasion of Ergamon, which makes treasure, and then you can discard a card and draw a card. And then the invasion of Zendikar, which is the 4-mana one that lets you search your library for 2 basic lands and put them onto the battlefield tapped.
It's explosive vegetation.
It is, yep, with a 4/4 Vigilance Haste on the other side.
Sure. Actually, I've seen a few battles in play, which has been pretty cool. I've seen...
Okay. How have you seen them going?
Pretty strong, yeah. So, Invasion of Tarkir, I've seen Crokus was playing a bunch, which is 1 and a red, and then it deals 2 to any target.
Yep.
And then it flips into a dragon.
Yep, 4/4.
The 4/4, which closes out games really fast. Yeah. You should see those where you copy them a bunch with... when you copy them a bunch with the Fable.
Yep.
That's pretty great. And then the other one that I've seen, actually, I gotta remember what it is. It's the blue-black one, which mills 3, and then your opponent discards and you draw. I think it's there's so many cards to scroll through here.
I'm looking at the deck lists, and there is a mono red list that is $32.
Love it.
Or 7 tickets.
In Invasion of Amonkhet is the one I was thinking of. So, yeah, when it enters the battlefield, each player mills 3, then each opponent discards, and you draw a card. And then when it flips, so it's got 4 defense counters. When it flips into a 4/4 laser tip convert. And you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard, except it's a 4/4 zombie in addition to its other types.
Okay.
So just a
nice.
bit of value, you know.
Yep. So I haven't watched any standard or played any standard myself, but as you said, you've been watching them play.
Mm-hmm.
With the invasions, the battles, what are you seeing? Like, how are people treating them? Are they attacking them and flipping them, or are they just playing them for the front side and that's it? Because I sort of look at them like, again, I'm put my mono red hat on or my aggressive creature attacking deck hat on.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at a battle and go, all right, it's got 4 defense counters. If I total up the spell, where it's like, okay, it costs me 3 mana to cast, does this effect, it gets this on the backside, so it makes this creature or whatever, but it also has the text, my opponent gains 4 life. Because that's effectively what it is when I'm attacking a battle.
Sure.
Rather than attacking their face. And most of the time I look at the battles and go, it's not worth me attacking those. And that's that was my experience playing the early access event, was most of the time it's like, well, I could attack that battle and flip a creature, or I could just attack you and get you dead in 2 turns. And that was just always the better option. So what are you seeing?
The context I've mostly seen it in is mid-range mirrors from both sides. So getting someone dead quickly doesn't really matter. And it's been a combination, which is cool. Like it kind of is playing out the way that we thought it would, where it's quite situational. So, the front side obviously has to be good. It has to, like, I haven't seen anyone play any that I'm just like, well, that's just like a straight whiff of a card. Like, that's just a waste of cardboard until you flip it, and then that's hard to do. Like some of the really expensive ones, I just haven't seen. I remember there was the one that flipped into like Marchesa that we thought might be good. I just haven't seen it. Like the Invasion of Alara seems really strong, but I just haven't seen anyone playing it. And I'm sure there's decks that do, but in terms of what I've been seeing people up to, it just isn't kind of around. So they're mostly playing them as spells where the ability is good. Like the Invasion of Amonkhet it's stop, right? Like it just kind of does that thing. And then if you look at it that way, where it's kind of like split cards or, adventure cards, where instead of it costing you more mana, it costs you an attack step or two. Then you can kind of just pick and choose when and how you want to flip them. So, yeah, they're interesting. They do make the game an interesting decision point in both sides, where it's like, how badly is your opponent scared of the other side? Sometimes they will block really weirdly to protect it from, like saving a planeswalker sort of thing. So it definitely creates some interesting situations. So yeah, they look, the good ones look good. They tend to be the cheaper ones I've seen, which, that's just the way Magic goes, right? The lower mana value ones tend to see more play. But I've seen like Invasion of New Phyrexia in like the Soldiers deck, where it's making a bunch of Knight tokens, which seems a little odd, but you can kind of, if you're flooding out, you just spit out a bunch of 2/2s and then you can kind of go from there. So yeah, they seem play for sure, which is cool. I'm glad that they're making some impact rather than just stone nothing.
Yeah, like most people I heard talking about them leading up to them being released was that they just had no way to evaluate them properly, because they're similar to an enchantment. They're also similar to a planeswalker, but a planeswalker generates value every turn, whereas the battles don't.
Like sagas generate every turn as well.
Same with Saga. A Saga, every turn it's ticking up, you're getting the value and so on. And then the ones we've got at the moment, they then, when they finish, they then flip over to something else and you're getting more value out of them. So the battles, a bit more like an enchantment, but I don't know of any of the battles that have like an actual like static or passive, whatever the word is, like a permanent ongoing ability on the front side. They're all like enters the battlefield abilities. So they come in, they do their thing, and then that's it. It just sits there. And so then, it just puts this awkward tension that I have no idea how to evaluate whether it is worth attacking them or not. And it's one of those things I remember, like going back to when we were talking about before with when Simic was good. You remember there was a mythic something where Simic Food was the top deck. And, going into that, it was like, we didn't really know how to evaluate food. Like, it was just an artifact and you gain 3 life, and it didn't seem all that good. But the cards that relied on the food, like the wolf and different things like that, they were super powerful. And so watching those top-level players play, they were, like, prioritizing destroying their opponent's food or preventing them from having ways to generate more food because that food represented more value in the game. And that's sort of where I see the battles at now, where it's like, I have no idea how to tell if I should be attacking them down and getting them flipped and getting the benefit of the other side. Maybe we'll start to see that after the Pro Tour when we get to see these high-level players play, or maybe we just won't see them at all. they may just not show up and they just become a card type that it's like, okay, yeah, it makes your Tarmogoyfs bigger, but that's kind of it. It's an extra card you get off a Traxxas. Yeah.
And look, I'd be surprised if we didn't see any. Some of them seem like they are just good enough to see play, and they're much more situational than all of those other things that you just talked about. So they're not so game warping like food tokens with a synergy deck, as strange as it seemed. I remember people, playing like naturalizers and stuff like that to kill a token, which just seems insane. But at the same time, it's like killing a Fable token is just a done thing. Like if you cut down one of those or whatever, like that's fine. You're not mad about it because it represents just more than the sum of its parts. So yeah, the battles are, I agree. Like I still don't feel like I have a great grasp on how they play out in the broader scheme of things, but there's definitely homes for them, and they definitely make individual game choices more complicated for both players, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Not for me. I don't want too more complicated.
Yeah, too hard.
Magic's complicated enough. I'm just like making my way through the deck list from this challenge, and I'm down to 12th place, and 12th place is the first invasion or first battle that we're seeing.
Okay.
Two Invasion of New Phyrexia, which is the X white blue one that makes the Knights.
Yeah. Yep.
None of the lists above that have battles. So
interesting.
It is quite interesting. I did also notice the mono blue tempo list, 5 tickets on Magic Online.
15 rares. Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they play out at the Pro Tour. And we did sort of speculate when we first saw the battles that like these battles were all sieges.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to get battles in the future that aren't sieges that work differently? We don't know that. So it might be one of those card types where they have gone a little bit conservative the first time after they've been burnt with how many times they've printed cards they probably shouldn't have when they're doing new types. And over the next few sets, like battles might become something that we see in every single set from now on. We don't know. We'll have to see.
I hope not, but it also makes sense if you think of them as being a siege, as being like not a perpetual effect. Like a siege is a very slow thing in terms of like real world wars. Like the way that they happen is
not
is
when I'm playing
slow.
Warhammer Total War. That's just like instant auto resolve done. Sieges take like half a second. They're great.
Nice. I take your word for that. I've never played that. But,
You should. It's a very good game.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, that's standard. So much of the same, but early days yet. And yeah, like listening to the podcasts over the last week or so, you're starting to hear about various pros or ex-pros, top level Magic players talking about going to the testing house. A lot of them will be in a testing house from like this weekend or at least early next week and just be testing hard. So hopefully we go into the PT and there is some new spice. There's some cool things. There's some fancy lists and people actually do something interesting. Otherwise, it's just going to be a whole bunch of mid-range soup, which, as we said, is interesting to play and watch. It's not my cup of tea, but there's just so many decisions to make, and watching those top players play those decks is a really cool experience. So even if you're not into standard, I would still watch.
Yeah, one of the things that make the mid-range soup interesting and good is excellent commentary. And people who know how their games play out and talk about all the different lines, and they help you see more than you can see when you're playing yourself, because obviously you don't see every line, and even more than like just a streamer. Like they see their one line that they follow through and they might see another one, but when you've got two other people who are able to see both hands, they've got perfect information, it gives you a really good holistic view on like the way things play out. So you will actually learn a lot from watching events like this, and particularly if you're interested in the format, it's like you actually will just come away from the game watching them better, even without having played any games yourself.
Yep, definitely. All right. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And there won't be a podcast next week to be able to talk about it before the event, but we will have one just after. So we will break down the decks that we saw and who won and how the coverage was and all that sort of stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Speaking of events and things coming up, we've got our beans stuff. So I thought I'd just give a quick rundown on what we've got coming up before we close out the show. So next week, as I said earlier, I received a box of goodies from our awesome sponsors, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. And one of the things in that box is a collector's box of March of the Machine. So Monday, next week, I will be cracking that box on stream. I've got my permanent overhead camera set up, mostly for snack plate cam, but it has other benefits of being able to do paper magic streams and
I like it.
do pack cracking. So Monday the 1st, I will be cracking that box, and once I've finished cracking it, I will give the whole box away. So I'm actually
dibs
looking forward to cracking that box, because this is the set that has the legends.
Oh, the serialized cards and all that sort of stuff.
So, we might crack a Ragavan with a number on it or something like that, which would be pretty cool. It might not make it into the post when I send it off, but we'll see. So keep an eye out for that. Then we have our one-day draft event coming up on the 6th of May. So that is actually the Saturday of the PT. So you can play in the event, have the stream open. Stream? No, there's not going to be the stream of the PT open while you're playing in the draft event. I think Chewy's intending on playing in that, so you may get a stream out of him. But yeah, that's free as always and has cash prizes. Not part of the tournament series, just a one-off being run by our awesome mod team. So get in on that. I think we're at about 15 or 16 players already signed up for that, so that's pretty cool.
It's unreal. Yeah, it's a Kamigawa draft, which was a much beloved format. So there's a bunch of info on that. If you haven't checked it out, hop in the Discord, find the limited channel. There's info in there.
Yep, absolutely. And then that Monday, so Monday the 8th of May, we're going to do the Commander stream we've been talking about for ages with some decks to give away. Again, thanks to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. We've got 4 pre-con Commander decks from various sets over the last few months. And we're all going to sleeve those up, play them together on stream, and then give them away. So keep an eye out for that, Monday 8th of May.
I'm excited, man. That's going to be heaps of fun.
Yeah, so I've got to make sure I get you guys the decks because they're all in my possession currently. So that'll be good. I think we're actually going to get Polywaffle on the stream.
Oof. It's Commander. He loves Commander.
He certainly does.
Loves it.
Yep. And then, we will have our next league kicking off, which will be the Explorer League. More cash to come with that, as well as the invitational points. And, that'll be starting probably in the next 2 weeks or so. We're still finalising the details and the structure for that event. So that's going to do us for this week, Cracker. We've finally achieved the fabled short podcast.
We have.
Do we need to just ramble for the next 15 minutes, or do we actually get to have an early night and edit this one quickly?
Let's give people's ears a break.
We could have done that from about the 30-second mark.
Just subjected the intro music. Yeah. Hi, welcome to episode 164 of the Magic Bands podcast. Have a great week.
We won't subject your ears to this. Have a good week. Bye.
No. We love it.
Yeah. All right. So, usual wrap up. Yeah, there's links everywhere in the show notes, all that sort of stuff for all of our things, our Discord, merch store, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Just go and check out all the things. It's always in the show notes, or you can go to magicbeanscast.com. But the main thing out of that is come and join us in our Discord because it's a fantastic place to be, and we love seeing new people come and join us. It's always pretty exciting when they do. And if you do want to find us on Twitter, we are at MagicBeansCast. And if you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at PSync. You are, Cracker?
At JoelHill_.
So that's going to do us for this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.